So right now, these are unprecedented times that we are facing with these potential tariffs and what's happening around the world. Brian, what do you do in unprecedented times like these? How do we think about these circumstances if you're in senior management?
So these are, in fact, unprecedented times. There is nothing that anybody who is currently managing a company that has done that looks like this. But when we look at crises and distress and stress in general, we see that there are common themes and that this time is no different. And those common themes are one, here, your forecast is wrong. Whatever forecast you produced before these tariffs came into place is almost certainly wrong, whether it's first order impact or second order impact. You need to be thinking about that. So when we are in this situation, when a company is feeling stress in times of uncertainty, know your liquidity. The single most important thing. Know where your cash position is and where your availability from your lenders and your investors is. You cannot run out of cash during times of uncertainty. Companies go out of business. Second, overly communicate. Know that you need to be in conversations with your investors, with your lenders, with your vendors and customers, and with your employees. People are feeling uncertain. It's not just you and your management team, but your customers and the vendors, and everybody's trying to figure out what to do. Those that lead during times of stress come out stronger. And update your forecasts. Very important. Really understand what's in your forecast, what you know, and what you don't know. Identify the assumptions that you're making and communicate to those to people who use your forecasts so that when we have differences, we have explainable deviations. We're not just saying, oh, well, things happen differently. During times of stress, people who provide companies capital really want to know that the management team is in control. And then the final thing is get your team together, whoever that team is. And that team can be your senior management. Oftentimes, not everybody in senior management has the skills to add value during these times. Look deeper in your organization for your A+ players that think strategically, and get your outside advisors in line now so that you can pressure test ideas and changes and things you are thinking about doing because tariffs are changing. So those are the things, whether it's this crisis or any other crisis, we always start with.
Great advice right there. Jim, I want to turn to you now and let's talk about IP and what are you telling companies and clients, to optimize their IP value at this moment in time and try to mitigate the risk?
So intellectual property is very much a global asset. So this is a topic that is coming up quite frequently. The way we consult with clients is to look first at immediate or short-term things that should be considered, and then longer-term considerations. In the short term, the first thing is royalty income or royalty payments are one of the few expenses that can be quickly adjusted to offset the expense of tariff. You can't necessarily reduce the cost or payments to labor or to material, but royalties can be tolled in order to help mitigate the tariff effect. Second, focus on counterfeit good auditing. The increased cost due to tariff creates incentives for counterfeiters to try to send out generic merchandise generally, and for your authentic suppliers to look at the back door more than the front door, because the gray market becomes much more active because of the need to sustain the manufacturing process and do something with those goods that are being produced. Looking at the longer term, more shovel-ready opportunities if you're going to move your manufacturing. First of all, consider the IP laws of the country you might go to. It may be more tariff friendly, but there may be patents or other hurdles that you have to overcome. So make sure those are considered. And then lastly, when you're picking a supplier within that alternative country, be sure that they understand the importance of trade secret protection, and what you're bringing to them is not just an assignment to manufacture, but an assignment to protect your own intellectual property.
Thanks, Jim. And then, shifting gears here, planning, permitting, talking about capital projects, that becomes hugely challenging in times like these. John, are there unique risks that are brought about as a result on that side?
Yeah, Dory, there are. There's the classic risk of uncertainty, right? You've got the issue of not knowing the timeline that you can get these accomplished in. You don't know, how it's going to be received by the various administration personnel, the changes that we've seen there, and also the fact that we have these tariffs that now are significantly impactful on the items that are predominantly made overseas. And so we have to plan for these things. The advice that I would give is two things, and it's a little bit of an echo you're going to hear. Execute the items that you can control, and get to that shovel ready position, but don't start digging until you have that certainty.
And then I want to take a step back and, really look at this from the macro perspective here. Livia, how do you manage the geopolitical volatility right now if you are a corporate executive?
That's right. I think the first and most important thing to realize now is that the rules of the game have changed entirely. Before, we used to be in an era where institutions, the rule of law, international institutions, ultimately set the tone and the rules and the regulations for how international businesses could operate around the world. Now we are in a totally different era where that is no longer the case. Now we're in an era where one-on-one deals are made between a business and a state, or perhaps a country can come in and help you sign a deal like what we're seeing with the minerals deal in the DRC or the minerals deal in Ukraine. So an entirely different set of rules now are here for businesses to learn about. So it's really working out on the ground how things are going to be happening, who you should be dealing with, who are the new stakeholders, and know that you shouldn't necessarily rely on the types of institutions and backings that you used to before.
Such great perspectives from all different angles here. Thank you. And we will be continuing to provide insights on what is happening at jsheld.com/insights.